Hello, good morning. Facebook has changed its live stuff again, so we're gonna have that awkward moment of am I live? My favorite moment. I'm pretty sure I'm live. Yay! I am. Right. Don't know why things insist on changing like this. Right. No idea where comments are. We'll see how we go. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's full moon, yay! Exciting times. If any of you are feeling particularly manic, excited, or ill, tired, and dodgy, then it might be because of the full moon. Right, so today, exactly 1 month ago, almost exactly 1 month ago, I shared with you a live I called my best tip ever to support your spiritual journey. My second best tip ever to support your spiritual journey. So the first tip I had was basically that, in essence, was that you are your own best teacher. Really tune into your intuition, your higher self, and connect within. That will be your best guide in this life. So that was the summary of that live. If you want to know more about that, then scroll through the videos and it will be there somewhere amongst them. If you can't find it, tag me somewhere and I will point it out to you. So in today's live, I want to talk to you about my second best tip ever. And that is why I believe that humor, play, laughter, and lightening up are super integral to your spiritual journey, to your spiritual growth, to your spiritual evolution, to living your purpose, to living your highest potential, to being your best self ever, and all of those things that make it so magical. So it's really about bringing back the magic to spirituality. So I'm starting to not quite like the word spirituality or spiritual. I just much prefer words like magic and magical and mystical and things like that, because it just like it resonates and it says more to me. So let me ask you a question. Does anyone else think that the mainstream spiritual world has just got a little bit too serious? Just a little bit too serious? So in this video, I want to address this fundamental flaw that I have experienced in mainstream spiritual communities, and how even within this alternative community, I still sometimes feel like I don't belong. So if you're anything like me, you've probably grown up being a bit of an outsider, being a bit different from most people. Maybe you dress a bit differently, maybe your opinions are a bit different, maybe you just think a bit differently. And maybe you've never really felt like you fit in properly until maybe you sort of found, the spiritual community, and you felt like, okay, maybe this is a place that will accept me, that I can be myself, that, that will have this resonance with me. And although I have felt like that within this community more than I've ever felt in my life, there are still pockets of this community that I still feel like a massive outsider. And that's in the places where people are taking it too seriously. When there's no lightness, where there's no play, no exploration, where there's no fun, where there's no not taking yourself too seriously. Those places, I'm quite sarcastic. I'm quite I can sometimes be quite immature. I like a good laugh. I like to make jokes out of things. Sometimes they are not the most PC jokes or the most appropriate jokes for some situations. but that's me. I have maybe a slight dark sense of, but the people who love me probably love me because of that, right? So today I just want to talk about bringing back play into our day-to-day, and especially relating to our spiritual journeys. So often spirituality seems to be so super focused on doing the deep inner work and diving into the shadow and being super humble and ensuring that you get up at ridiculous o'clock to make sure that you fit in the 1 million practices suggested by all the gurus. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about the deep inner work. I've done so much deep inner work myself, and that's what I like to do with my clients. I love to do the deep inner work with them. I love to sit in my darkness and face my shadows. I don't want to buy a house or pitch a tent in the shadow, but I still like to go there, visit it, learn from it, explore, grow, come back out to the light. And there's always a time for humility, obviously. And, I too myself get up super early to fit in my spiritual practice before starting my day. But I also love to approach my life from a place of play and fun and exploration. I try not to take myself too seriously. Maybe occasionally I fall into that trap. But I really, really try not to take the spirituality too seriously and be like, super, super rigid about everything and have no room for flexibility or flow. Spirituality should feel light. It should feel light and easy and joyful. It shouldn't feel heavy. It shouldn't feel like a chore, and it certainly shouldn't feel restrictive. So if you're ever doing anything in your spiritual journey that feels, like super, super heavy and like really don't want to be doing this is not, aligned, then don't do it. Obviously the deep inner work isn't going to be always fun. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses, like, dancing in the shadows with your fears and your shame. But, like the sort of everyday stuff, your spiritual practices, they should not feel heavy. They should never feel heavy. And I know, most of us on this spiritual journey have spiritual practices that we do on a daily and weekly basis, right? So for me, I get up at 6 a.m. every day and I have a 2-hour, possibly slightly longer morning routine, depending on if it involves showering or more of the heavy exercises that I do occasionally, but not every day, right? So I've had a bit of a shoulder injury recently, so I've lessened my physical exercise. I've been focusing more on being and less on doing, so my routine is less physical and maybe sometimes it's shorter. And I've added a bit of play and dancing and movement into my routine the last sort of 6 months, doing like putting on some high vibe tunes and getting my groove on, like having a little sing song and lifting the vibes. And like I know a lot of people with a lot of spiritual practices, and there's been more than one occasion where I've spoken to a friend or a client who's talking about the spiritual practices they've done, and they're like, you can feel that they're talking about them with this heaviness. And I love to ask, okay, so what spiritual practices do you do? When did you start doing them? Why did you start doing them? Has your intentions for your spiritual practices changed? Like what once served you once upon a time may not be serving you anymore. And I had a specific friend who was doing a lot of Wim Hof breathing, and we were on the phone and she was like, I've got to go, I've got to do my Wim Hof breathing. And I'm like, you don't seem too excited about that. And she's like, oh yeah, a bit of a drag, don't really like doing it all the time, just got to get on with it. And I'm like, I don't think you do. I don't think you do have to just get on with it. If you're like, I've got to do my Wim Hof breath, I must go and do my Wim Hof breath. It's time for the Wim Hof breath. You're coming at it from an angle of like, should. I should do this because I started it, so I must carry on doing it forever, or because someone told me I should, or because it, it's supposed to be the answer to the specific problem I'm having. Don't get me wrong, if you try something once and you don't like it, maybe you should a few more times just in case, just to see if you can break through some resistance or some blockage to it. Don't, obviously there's sometimes you have to really continue with something, and sometimes it's a practice. After all, you got to practice it. Sometimes you got to let them go. There's one particular situation, she's like, I've got to do my Wim Hof breath, and I'm like, do you have to do your Wim Hof breath? And she's like, I guess not. And then she messaged me the next day, maybe not the next day, maybe a few days later, and she was like, I stopped doing my Wim Hof and it's great. I'm like, way. So clearly, I'm not saying that Wim Hof breath is bad. I've never done it personally. I know people that get great benefits from it. But the point is that it once upon a time it felt light to her and she was doing it. But then somewhere along the journey it got heavy and she didn't stop doing it. She failed to notice that it was making her heavy and she should stop. So lifting this heaviness off makes space for some new practice to come in, or to do something else, some time to be, some time to self-care, some time to rest more, who knows, or a different practice that was serving the original intention, but now she needs a new one. Whatever it is, it shouldn't feel like a chore, right? So I want to come back to the laughter and the play. Let's see if we have any comments or I carry on. I don't think so. I think we're good. So laughter and play. So there's a man called Dr. David Hawkins. He does this thing, explains this thing, creates this thing, whatever, called the emotional spectrum in vibrational frequencies. So this spectrum is 1,000 units long, and the lower 200 units are sort of the more negative vibrations, fear, shame, guilt, grief, apathy, things like that. And 200 plus is where we start getting into the really juicy stuff of love, of joy, of gratitude, and right the way up to the higher levels of enlightenment. Now, I don't necessarily think we should all shoot for that, that 800,000-900,000 mark, because that's super, super, super enlightened. We're talking like Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Buddha, Paramahansa Yogananda. I mean, he probably isn't even up there in the thousand, maybe. Well, who knows? We're aiming for sort of 500, 600, 700, something like that. But one of the ways to get there, one of the ways in which to lift your vibe into these higher vibrational frequencies, one of the best ways is laughter. Laughter really is the best medicine. Now, I don't know if that's an official that's coined by someone, but it is a saying that we all have heard and know very well, not even from a spiritual context, just from a life context. Laughter really is the best medicine, and it is a surefire way to lift your vibes. So if you've ever heard of the law of attraction, you know that you have to vibe to a state that's on the same vibe as the thing you want to attract in, right? If what you're attracting in is higher vibe than you, which it often is, on vibe or higher vibe, if you want to increase your vibe up there, just laugh your way there, laugh your way to your dreams. And so this is why I think laughing yoga is one of the best inventions ever. I do a daily yoga practice, and I have for the last 2.5 years or something, but I do it at home. I taught myself from a book. I don't know if I have the books, so Yoga for Beginners or whatever. I went to a few classes. I didn't like them. they were too boring and serious and uncomfortable. And I found myself really reminiscent of school and exams and being in those situations where you're not allowed to laugh, and therefore that is of course all I wanted to do was laugh. And heaven help me if I was in a class with a friend, because there was no hope for me holding the laughter back. If I was in a class with a friend who was in a similar position, we'd be like the naughty school girls at the back of the class, because it's just like it's funny, you know. I like to bring fun and play into my world. And you know, laughter is a really good thing for physical exercise, because nothing tones your stomach muscles more than laughing so hysterically that your stomach muscles actually hurt. That is like my goal in life, is to have stomach muscles that hurt every day because I've laughed so much the day before. So what can you do to bring more laughter, more fun, and more play back into your life, in particular into your spiritual journey? What can you do to make your spiritual journey more fun? You know, maybe like me, you could replace your morning exercise routine with a morning dance routine. You know, maybe you want to do a little dance class. I have a friend who does morning raves. She does a monthly membership of morning raves, and it's a phenomenal way to start the day. You know, listening to high vibe house music at 7:30 or 9:30 in the morning. She does two times, I believe, on Fridays. I think she does an evening one on Thursdays as well. Not every week though, so you'd have to check her out to know her times and stuff. But I think you can also buy recordings of her lives and stuff. So anyway, check her out. Her name is DJ Flourish, aka Caroline Kelf. She's in this group. I'll tag her so that people can see her. Um, but starting your morning with a high vibe playlist with movement and dancing, like playing with your body, playing with your moves, playing with the space, playing with the music. No one's watching you. No one cares what you're doing. No one's seeing you. So it's not a time to get all like, oh, but what if I dance wrong? There's no dancing wrong. Like, there's no dancing wrong unless you're in a dance troupe and you're performing and you have routines, whatever. But in this context, there's no dancing wrong, right? So maybe that's one way you could bring more play and fun back into your life. Maybe instead of listening to the sheer amount of serious spiritual podcasts that you listen to, maybe you could replace one of them with a comedy panel show or a comedy movie or something that really like makes you laugh. Just YouTube like hysterical videos or something and see what comes up. Because I think sometimes we think that, you know, TV and stuff is like bad for us. It's not spiritual unless it's like a documentary or like a wildlife program, or which are all great. Love me a documentary, love me a wildlife program, love me some David A. You know, but sometimes there's a time for something light-hearted, you know. I don't watch too much TV. I can't really watch it during the day, but you know, evenings after I've finished my work, if I don't have any evening classes, or you know, particularly in lockdown when there hasn't been much to do, you know, I like to watch a bit of TV, mix it up between some serious TV and some fun, light-hearted trash. You know, there's nothing wrong with a bit of trash every now and then. Keep it light-hearted, keep it, you know, fun play. I'm gonna start YouTubing hysterical videos. If you find any, share them with us because I want to see them. I'll do the same. If I find any, I will share them. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have to make a note of this. Google and YouTube funny videos, particularly of animals. Love me some funny animal videos. So how can you bring this fun and play back into your life, back into your spiritual journey, back into your healing journey? You know, how can you laugh your way through your healing process instead of taking it so seriously? Now, one of the sort of spiritual avenues that I have explored that I found to be super fun and playful. So I love working with chakras because they're super flexible and fun. You know, it's all about colors and crystals and movement and playing with the different energies of each one to embody them and, you know, create that state of flow within your body, mind, and soul. And that's why I have decided to do, well, actually, it was a couple of months ago, I asked you lot in my groups, I said, you know, what would you like to learn that I know, gave you loads of options. You all voted for chakras. So here I am about to deliver some juicy stuff on chakras for you. Starts off on Monday, the 7th of June, with a free masterclass called What the F are Chakras. So if you don't know anything about chakras, or you know too much and you don't know what to do with all of the information and you just need it like really simplified, or if you've heard of them but like they actually confuse you a bit, come along to the masterclass. Even if you know what they are, come along anyway. It's free. You never know what you might learn. So in the masterclass, we'll cover, you know, I'll cover a few little myths and drop some truth bombs. I'll really summarize the chakras for you simply. I'll be talking about the science behind the chakras. I'll be talking about how you can notice, you know, whether they're balanced or imbalanced, and then, you know, a few steps you can take to begin your path towards, you know, learning the chakras yourself and balancing your system. And then a few days after that, I'll also be starting my 7-day chakra boot camp. And that is really all about playing with the energy of each chakra, being in the energy, immersing yourself in the energy, playing with it throughout the day, seeing how you can bring the energies into your world. So that's what's coming up next. So the free masterclass is on Monday the 7th of June at 7 p.m. BST. That's British Summer Time. So that's GMT +1. It's CET +2. Ignore that. I don't remember. It's BST time, so whatever the UK time is, check your time zones, and it'll be about 90 minutes. I hope to stay on time, but you never know with these things. Sometimes spirit just comes along with this extra stuff. There'll be a guided meditation and visualization journey too. And I'm super excited to share this with you because chakras really are one of the spiritual avenues that I've had the most fun with playing. Maybe because I love color and it involves a lot of color work, and there's so many different ways, you know, you can use mantras and affirmations and movement and activities and crystals and all of the things. So like there's so many ways for you to choose from, which whatever works for you. And yes, I'm super excited to finally be delivering some stuff on chakras for you, especially as you've asked for it, and it's something I love to deliver as well. So I will drop the sign up link below. Also, I'll drop in the information about DJ Flourish if any of you are interested in bringing rave back into your life, because that's a great way to play as well. And yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this live. I'm just going to check the comments. I don't think we have any this morning, but this new live system gets me confused. So hear my voice. It's going to be really awkward. Okay, yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, this information. And if you find ways that you really want to start playing with your journey, with your life, with your spiritual progress, let me know in the comments, because I really want to know all the different ways that you bring humor and play and laughter into your world, because this stuff really excites me. I just love play and fun. It's, you know, raise the vibes, not take life too seriously. Let's create this movement of fun, playful spirituality and bring the magic back into this spiritual world. So much love, infinite blessings from me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.